You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is time for your Hot Options Report for Tuesday, August 26th. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you are mainlining these days. Remember, wherever you're getting this show, make sure you're listening to the full network. Over a dozen shows coming at you, usually 2 to 3 a day. So a lot of great content coming at you. Of course, if you think you're ready to take the plunge, head on over to theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Now, if you're listening to this show, chances are that you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees, whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades. Every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Again, the Hot Options Report brought to you by Public. Full disclosures in the podcast description. All right, let's get down to business with a little Hot Options Report action for this Tuesday, August 26th, kicking it off in VIX land as we like to do. And was it a rock'em sock'em robots day out there in VIX options? The answer, unfortunately, no. 478,000 contracts on the tape, substantially less than our ADV, which is hanging out right around 800,000 contracts. The hot option out there in a very light day in the VIX to the upside today, 27,000 of the October 60 calls. Interesting. Average price right around 32 cents with VIX cash going out right around 14.62 today. As we keep on rolling out to SPY land, listeners, was it a hot day in SPY? The answer, also not really. 6.5 million contracts on the tape. The ADV just a tick north of 8 million out there. So obviously coming in a little over 1.5 million below expectations. The hot option, though, was pretty active. 687,000 of these 643 calls, again, expiring today. Average price close to 70 cents. We went out and SPY, unfortunately, for all those call holders, 642.5. All right, to the SPX we go, listeners. And you might assume that quiet day in SPY, quiet day in VIX, not exactly a banger day in the SPX, and you'd be slightly mistaken. Actually, the SPX putting up slightly more than its ADV. Its ADV is about 3.85 million, coming in close to 4 million contracts in the S. So kind of interesting, a decently active day out there. The hot option, 170,000 of the 64 half calls. An interesting strike. Average price of about $3.50. If you bought those and rode those into the close, you are a happy camper right now, listeners. SPX closing well north of that strike, 64.65. Getting a nice rally towards the second half of the session out there after starting out the day in the red. So if you bought those calls for around $3.50 and you rode them into the close, you've got a smile on your face today, listeners, as we keep on rolling out to small caps. Small caps are a weird one. They're hot, they're quiet, they're hot, they're quiet. Kind of on the latter portion today, 1.16 million contracts going up today. The ADV close to 1.5 million. The hot option out there in small caps today, 84,000 of the 235 calls. We're back to 0-day contracts taking the top of the list. By the way, IWM going out today, 234 and about a quarter. No joy for the 235s today, but that's why you play 0 day, I suppose. You live to fight another day. You come back tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow you play in the Qs, aka the Nasdaq. Nearly 3.6 million contracts on the tape. That's a little shy of the ADV, which is right around 4.25 million out there. The hot option in the Qs today, nearly 330,000 of the 572 calls. The Qs going out a wee bit north of that strike, 572.61 for the Nasdaq today. As we keep on rolling out to the single names, was it an explosive day on the single name option front? The answer was most decidedly no. We've been talking on this show since its launch, even just in the last few weeks. We've had days, 750,000, threatening 1 million contracts to break into the top 10 on some very explosive, very dense, very active days. Today, falling, shall we say, far short of that, only costing you 327,000 contracts to break into the top 10. For some context, we've seen days where we're more active than that to break into the top 10 in the first few hours of the day. So very quiet day out there. Again, it is the dog days of summer, so bear that in mind. That gets you to Microsoft, listeners, today. 327. Microsoft closing just a tick shy of 502 today, giving up about 2.25 out there today. The hot option in Microsoft land. 17,000 of the 505 calls. Average price of $2.50. So Microsoft needs to get in gear by the end of the week if they want those to pay off. If you are indeed buying them, listeners, out to number 9, my old stomping grounds, and a lot of people focusing their attention on this one these days. Intel closing right around 24 1/3 today, giving up nearly 1%. Intel, of course, we're all 10% owners of Intel now. Is this the start of a sovereign wealth fund here in the U.S.? A lot of debate around this. 429,000 contracts on the tape for number 9, Intel, the hot option out there today. 20,000 of the September 26 calls, but these are expiring on the 5th. So about a week and a half out, 26 calls. Again, Intel, 24 1/3. Interesting timing out there, listeners. It's like earnings aren't until October 30th again, so not exactly an earnings play for Intel. Interesting timing, though. As we keep on rolling to number 8, our old pal SoFi, giving up about $0.50 today, closing right around 25.60. The hot option out there in SoFi today, 25,000 of the 27 calls expiring this Friday. By the way, SoFi putting up about 449,000 contracts for the number 8 spot. Number 7, our old pal Neo, catching a nice bid out there today, rallying over 10%, over 60 cents to close at 670 today. So this one's been on just an absolute tear, up 33% in the past 5 days alone. Quite the return to prominence for our old pal here. Neo coming in at number 7, 557,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in Neo today, nearly 55,000. You know it's calls, just a question of which ones. It's the SEP 9s, listeners. 22 cents, SEP 9s. Interesting. Would you be a buyer or a seller of those bad boys? Might be a fun little flash poll. We'll keep an eye on that one, listeners, as we keep on rolling to number 6. It's our old pal, the Fruit Company. 629,000 contracts on the tape for Apple today. 229 1/3, up about 215 or nearly 1% today. And the hot option out there in Apple, nearly 51,000 of the 230 calls. And again, with the exception of that Neo paper and, of course, Intel. So we have 2 exceptions, it looks like, this week. Number 6, the Fruit Company, 629,000 contracts. The hot option in Apple today, 51,000 almost of the 230 calls expiring this Friday. To number 5 we go. Keeping it in the A tech names, it is AMD, listeners. 690,000 contracts on the tape today. Closing 166.62, up about 3.25 or about exactly 2%. The hot option in AMD today, 102,000 of the 170s expiring this Friday. If it can move like I did today, 170 is easily within spitting distance. Those had an average price of about 245, so needs to move a bit, but AMD has proven that it can. As we keep on rolling, another name that has proven that it can move is Palantir, closing a little bit shy of 161 today, 160.87, up about 370 or 2.25%. Palantir putting up about 750,000 contracts today. The hot option in Palantir, 62, almost 63,000 of the 160 calls. This had an average price of about $3.50. So obviously we need to keep running by the end of the week. But right now, closing in the money is a good start for those calls if you're buying them, as we keep on rolling to our old pal Open. Coming in at number 3 today, $4.70 for Open, up about 3.5% today, or about 16 cents. 1.04 million contracts. So Open looking hot again today. And what was lighting up the tape in Open today? 122, almost 123,000 of the 5 calls expiring this Friday. We did break that to level today. Got up to about 5.25 today before retreating off of it. So interesting. They had an average price of about 44 cents. I'm going to guess a lot of those were going up probably when we were close to, if not north of, the 5 handle. Either way, can we get back to that level? Obviously a 544 for a lot of these call buyers by Friday. I guess we'll find out as we keep on rolling to number 2. All is right with the world. Tesla is back at number 2, listeners. 351.67, up another $5 or about 1.5%. So nice little run here for Tesla the last few sessions. It was 320 exactly just about a week ago, a little less than that actually. And now we have run 31 handles from that level. My goodness. So quite the run here for Tesla. Number 2, 1.42 million contracts for them. The hot option in Tesla, 115,000 of the 350 calls. Average price of about $5.30. You might say that sounds pretty rich, and you're not wrong. But also, A, Tesla can move. It's pretty volatile. And B, those closed $1.67 in the money. So that accounts, obviously, for some of that rich price. As we keep on rolling to the number 1 spot, our old pal Nvidia taking it down once again. 1.87 million contracts on the tape. All right, the hot option today in our old pal Nvidia, 53,000 of the 190 calls expiring on Friday. Average price of about exactly $2.50. So we'll keep an eye on those bad boys and see if Nvidia can get to 190 by the end of the week. It's got some work to do. We'll see if we can get there, listeners. And that's going to do it for your hot options report for a fairly quiet Tuesday, August 26th. See you back here tomorrow with our usual array of content. Of course, you got Options Bootcamp coming at you tomorrow. The Futures Rundown coming at you tomorrow. Another taste of the hot options report. See you then. And of course, stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.